In this video, I'm going to talk about ISIS fundamental. After that, we can start the configuration of the ISIS. First, we should compare the OSI and TCP IP. You know that OSI is the abbreviation of the Open System Interconnection, and this is the reference model today's. But in the old days, we used OSI as a practical model, such as the TCP IP today's. Let me to compare first the OSI versus TCP IP terms. Look at here. This is the top scenario, is a network with TCP IPv4 terms. Look at here. We have two hosts, the first host, left host, and the right host. And also we have two routers. One router, our router 1 is connected to the left host, and another router 2 connected to the right host. Okay, you know that when the host in the for example left side needs to send traffic to the host in the right side, it should send the traffic, it should give the traffic to the router connected to the host. We call it default gateway, and after that this router, left router, should compare the packet's destination IP with its routing table, and after that it can forward the traffic to the next top router. You know that we need routing protocols for updating the routing table of the router in the TCP IP world. Because of that, we should enable one routing protocol, for example RIP, OSPF, EIGRP, or some other routing protocols. This is the TCP IP terms: first host, second router, and then routing protocol. Also, you know that we are using interfaces with IP addresses in the routers, and also you know that, as I mentioned before, we need some protocols, for example address resolution protocol in IPv4 for sending traffic to the router first, because we need the MAC address of the router in Ethernet networks, and after that host can learn the MAC address of the router with ARP, and then sending the traffic to the router, and then router can forward the traffic to other routers. This is the TCP IPv4. Okay, let me to compare this terminology and these rules with the OSI practical model. You know that in OSI practical model we had ES or end system. ESS connected to the IS, means intermediate system, and after that when a traffic received from when a traffic needs to send from one ES to another ES, we should send this traffic from the ES to IS, means end system to intermediate system. After that, this intermediate system can use the destination address of the packet and then forward the packet to the next IS or next hop IS, for example, and finally this next hop IS should give the traffic to the IS. In that days, we needed two types of protocols. The first type of protocols that are called ESIS, means between end system and intermediate system, and also we needed another types of protocols. We called them ISIS, means the protocols that was worked between the two IS, for example intermediate system to intermediate system. You know that today's we don't use a protocol between the ES and IS. This means that you have ARP in your operating system, in your host, and you don't need to enable any new protocol for sending traffic, for example to router. Okay, but in the old days we should install ESIS protocols between the ESS and ISS, and after that we could communicate between the ES and IS. Today's we don't need to install any protocol between the for example the host and router. But in the old days, such as the today's, we use there are some types of routing protocols, we call them ISIS. You know that we had some types of ISIS, and one of them, ISO 10589, now is calling the ISIS or integrated ISIS. Also, you know that in that days we didn't use the interface term, we used circuit. Circuit is the other names of the interface in that days, but you know that we didn't assign any addresses, for example, CLNMP address to the circuits. We should assign the addresses in the OSI world to the IS and also ES. Look at this picture. In this picture, we can see that ES has one CLNMP address and also IS has one CLNMP address, other IS, and then the last ES. Okay, as you can see here, we need ES-IS protocol between the ES and IS. We need IS-IS protocol between two IS, and we needed ES-IS protocol between the IS and ES. As you can see here, two types of protocols now is working in this scenario. And we had some packets that these protocols was used for their communication. The first is the ESH. ESH is the abbreviation of the end system hello. This ESH packet should be used for discovering of the ESS. Every ES should forward or should send one ESH in the intervals, in specific intervals in that days. As you can see in the picture, two ESs, ES left and right ES now is sending ESH. And also every IS should send ISH to other ESS. Look at here, ISH is the abbreviation of the intermediate system hello. And the usage of this ISH is to identifying or for example discovering of the ISS in ESS. For example, with the ISH, every ES can discover the IS, and with the ESH, every IS can discover the ES. Okay. After that, we had another type of hello packets in the old practical OSI models, IIH. IIH is the abbreviation of the ISIS hello. We will see this IIH in this course. IS hello, or intermediate system to intermediate system hello. Every IS should send the IIH to the next IS. With this IIH packets, both of the ISS can discover each other, and after that they can establish ISIS neighborship, and finally they can exchange the addresses, for example CLNMP address, or in these days the IP address. Let me to review this scenario again. The first is that the ES and IS, both of them should be assigned with CLNMP address. Okay. In this course, we don't assign the CLNMP address to ESS, means to the host, but we should assign CLNMP address or net address, network entity title, to every IS for configuring the ISIS, as I mentioned in the previous video. In the old days, we used two types of protocols, ESIS and ISIS. ESIS protocols should be used between the ES and IS, and ISIS protocol should be used between the two IS. Okay. But today, because we don't need to enable any routing protocol between the host and router, we don't need to implementing any protocol, for example ESIS. Because of that, in this course or any other courses, you can't see ESIS types protocols. Only you should enable ISIS in between the ISs. And also in the old days, because we had ESIS protocols, we needed ESH, ISH hello packets. ESH is the abbreviation of the end system hello, and we use ESH to discovering ESS for the ISS. And after that, we needed ISH. Why? Because the ESS should learn the ISS, should discover the ISS. Because we don't need to install ESIS protocol, we don't need the, for example, these hello packets. But in the ISIS, means between the two IS, we need IIH hello to discovering, and after that establishing ISIS neighborship between the ISS. IIH is the abbreviation of the ISIS hello. Look at this picture. In this picture, you can see how we can use integrated ISIS or IISIS or dual ISIS. Look at here. This is a TCP/IP networks, and this TCP/IP network, we want to use